Good morning everyone. In today's class we will be discussing about the basic HTML tags, and before going into the concept we'll see what exactly the HTML is. So the HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So before entering into the concept, it has got two different meanings. So one is hypertext, what exactly the meaning of hypertext, and second one is what is this markup languages are. So HTML, hypertext indicates that a text within the text, text within the text is nothing but hypertext, and then markup language which is going to provide, which is going to apply formatting conventions to your documentation part. Thus the name hypertext markup languages. And basically all the HTML documents will be saved with the extension called .html. It is going to be HTML files are going to be saved with the extension called .html. And the general structure of your HTML looks something like this, where your first tag starts with the HTML tag, and the second one is head, and the third one is the title page. Whenever you are going to write the HTML structure, a basic HTML program, it should start, it basically has starting and ending of the tags. All the HTML tags basically ends with the forward slashes. Okay. Now, title tag usually goes with, it is going to be displayed on the website. Suppose that this is your web page, and here your title, whatever the thing that you write inside the title, opening title tag and the ending title tag, that is going to be displayed over here. The content that you write in between these two tags is going to be displayed over here. And you close as I have told you, closing of the tag is basically done with the forward slashes. And whatever the content that you wanted to display in the web browser, that is going to be written in the tag called body. The content that has to be displayed, whatever the information, whatever the data that you wanted to display in the web browser, that can be written inside this body tag only. Okay, and in the body tag we have got different tags like H1 tag. H1 is used for heading tags. Like we have different heading tags starting from H1 to H6, opening and closing of H1 tag. In the same way we have H2, H3, H4, H5 and so on to H6. Indicates that the first tag that enlarges is the highest font of your content that you write inside it. Size of font size, the highest font size. And H2, the next size of your H1. Next size of H2 is H3, and then H4 goes on, and finally H6 is the smallest font size of the content that you write. Okay, so H1, as I have told you, it is the starting enlargement of your content. So whatever the thing that I write in between H1 opening and closing tag, that is going to be displayed in your web browser with large size. And there is another tag called P tag, indicates that as a paragraph tag. Opening of what, if you want to write some multiple lines of code in the web browser, like paragraphs, then we usually go with this P tag. So opening of P tag and write something as a paragraph, and then closing of your P tag. Finally, this entire thing you are trying to show it in the web browser, so you are writing it under the body. And finally, if you are done with this part, close this body tag and then closing of your HTML tag. This is the basic structure of your HTML. Right. Moving on to the next tag, that is, if at all you want to change the color, body color, then there is another tag called BG color. Body, and this has to be closed within the body tag. So body BG color is equals to green. What are the color that you wanted to make use of? You can use green or pink or black, whatever you wanted to make use of. Those colors can be included within the box. And there is a special tag called marking Marking indicates that moving some content from left to right, a sliding kind of thing. We usually see it on the websites, like some content is going to be displayed. It's just moving, sliding from one place to another place, moving from right to left or left to right, bottom to down or down to up. Up to bottom and bottom to up. So in such cases, if you want to use such kind of content that is moving from left to right or right to left, you should go with the tag called marking. And direction, you should show the direction from which direction it has to move. So it should move to the right. Okay? And what has to be moved towards right? Welcome, the content. What is the content that I have used? Welcome to MRCET, and finally closing of the tag called, how do we close the tag? Just / and then marking. Then the next different contents that we have over here is how do we make the text bold, and how do we make the content italic, and how do we make the content as underlined statement. So what are all the different tags that we use for these things? First one, making the content bold. So in order to make the content bold, we use the tag called B. B indicates making whatever the content that I have, I'm writing over here, it has to be in a bold letter. So opening the bold tag and then closing it. In the same way, we have an italic tag, italicizing the tags, italicizing the content. So in order to make the content italic, then I have the tag called I. I stands for italicizing the content. Whatever the content that you write, it has to be italicized. Okay? And then finally, closing of the tag. And there is another tag, underlining the content. Now, sometimes we get an position, like, in order to make some content to be underlined, like, headings kind of thing, and set has to be underlined before talking about this concept. So underlining can be done just U, and then MRCET, finally closing of U. So these are the basic tags that we usually do with HTML, and people usually get confused between two things. First one, what is the general difference between tag and the element? What is that? What is the major difference between tag and the element? As I told you, this is one tag, this is one tag, I is another tag, B is another tag. Then what is the difference between tag and the element? Anything that you write between opening and closing of your angular braces is treated as your tag. Opening and closing of your angular braces is basically taken as a tag. Then, now what is this element? Anything that you write between opening and closing of the tag, opening tag and then closing of the tag is basically taken as a element parts. Okay, so this is a major difference between tag and the element. Alright. There are some situations where you wanted to link a page to another page. In the websites, we usually go with them. Click on this link in order to forward. Click on this part in order to go to that content. So in that situations, we use a tag called hyperlinking. Hyperlinking or redirection kind of thing. So in such cases, we use a tag called anchor tag. So this anchor tag usually links, we call it as hyperlinking with a page to the another page. Linking one page to the another page is basically termed as hyperlinking. For that, in HTML, we have a special tag called href. Anchor tag. For hyperlinking, we use anchor tag. Okay. So a space href is equals to what page you are trying to link up. Which page you are trying to link up. That has to be written over here within the double quotes, and then instead of writing the entire link of that www.thatpagename.com, you just give some meaningful, reasonable word for that. Okay, so that can be the link of text. I'll tell you what exactly this is, and then finally closing of this anchor tag. Something like this: a href is equals to some HTML page, the linking page, and instead of writing directly second.html, you are giving some name to that second.html for the user to understand very easily. Okay, so that content is click here. So what will be displayed on the browser? It just displays click here. When you click on that, you are going to be redirected to which page? The second.html page. Linking one page to the another page is done with the help of anchor tag. So the syntax, the basic syntax of your HTML, anchor tag is a href, which is equals to the link of that page, and then what content has to be displayed instead of this, that has to be written on here, and do not forget closing of your anchor tag. Now let us see few examples of this anchor tag. Now HTML head and title that has to be displayed on the web browser is the link, and then I am trying to open the body tag. Now H2 indicates header tag, second header tag, second type of header tag, and a href is equals to what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to redirect to the web page called www.youtube.com. So when I click on this, click here, then that is now going to be redirected to the other page called YouTube. Okay, and finally closing of body tag and closing of HTML. And there is another link like your college page, your college site. Okay, so I'm using p tag, paragraph tag over here, and opening of the paragraph tag, it's just a paragraph, it's just a text, right? So click on, and then in that I'm opening a href hyperlinking tag, and in that I'm using our college website page, and this link, click on this link to go to the home page. Now what will be the hyperlink one? What will be the blue colored one? Hyperlinking one will be here, this link. So generally I'll show you the output. See, it looks something like this. Click on as the general paragraph tag, and this link is, if you could observe, this is your hyperlinking page, which is going to be redirected to your MRCET web page. So thus it is going to be in this format for hyperlinking. So click on is the paragraph, and this is your hyperlinking to go to the home pages. Again your paragraph tag. So finally closing of your paragraph tag is very important. Closing of your paragraph tag and anchor tag, paragraph tag, opening of paragraph tag, closing of your paragraph tag inside what? Hyperlink, anchor tag inside the paragraph tag. Next, there is a tag, another important tag, which is called as images. If you want to display the images in your web page, you cannot just like that display that. For that again we have a tag called image tag, image source. So the tag that we use over here is your img space src, indicates that image source. What is the source that you are given for the image? So I have an image called, for example, image called good morning.jpg. So that image I am given the source of that particular image within the tag called img.src. Make a note that there is no such closing tag, especially for your image tag. We will not have any closing tags. Okay, so just like bold letter, writing something, closing of bold letter. In this way, we will not have closing tags for this image. In the opening of image and closing of image, we will not have the thing, but the image tag. Okay, so the basic name or a description of this particular image can be given. This is an optional part actually. So this alternative name is an optional one. You can use it or you cannot use it. Your code is going to be okay. Okay. So ALT stands for alternate name. So what is the alternative name that will give into your image? Description of your image. Some description about your image. So ALT is equals to good morning friends. Write something and then finally closing of those all the header, body and HTML tags. Okay. Now we'll see the example. HTML, opening of HTML tag, head tag, title, closing of head tag, body, and in the body tag, as I told you, whatever the content that has to be displayed in the web browser, that has to be written in the body tag only, right? So in the body tag, what I am trying to do? I am trying to upload some image. I am trying to include some image in the web page, right? In my web page. So what is the image? What is the tag that I use for the image? img src space img space src, which is equals to the image name that I have, cat, some image name. So cat.jpg, and we can also manage, control the height and width of your image. So height is around 500 and width is around 300. You can manage it. It can be 100 to 100, 200 to 200, 500 to 500. Height and width of your images can also be managed. An alternative name that I have given for this cat image is just an animal pic. A description for that animal, for that image as your alternative name. Okay. And finally closing of your body tag and then closing of your HTML tag. Then this is another important concept in HTML in order to move forward, that is tables. This gives you a complete information that has to be managed in the form of rows and columns. If at all, if you want to manage, if you want to assign the data in the form of rows and columns, you go with this concept which is called as table. Okay, so your entire data is going to be enclosed, is going to be displayed in the tabular format like rows and columns. So the basic tags that we use in the table in order to manage the data in the form of tabular format. Then we have these tags, like the first tag is tier, table stands for table rows, and the next tag is your th, which stands for table header, and the next tag is your table data. We will be seeing all these things in the example. So just make a note of this, the different tags that we have with respect to tables. In order to go with the tables, what are all the tags that we use over here? Tier, table row, th, table header, td, table data. Okay, and now see, I have opened HTML, head, title, the story repeats again, HTML, head, title, closing of your head, opening of your body tag, and we can also use the element called border. We are just telling that how much width should be there for your table that you are going to create. How much pixel of width that has to be displayed. So 20 pixel of width should be displayed as your width of your table. Okay, and here you have all the rows and columns. So this is your border part. Border part with 20 pixels. They just given the option like this should be displayed in this number of pixels. Border should be in this number of pixels. So for that we use a table tag, opening of table tag as in the first tag. If you want to move forward with respect to the table tag, then you go with the tag for table and the border. Otherwise it is okay if you don't include this part also, just opening of table tag. Opening of table tag and then tr indicates that I am talking about this first row. The first row of my table, I am talking about this row. Okay. So in this row, I am talking about heads. TH. TH, this is my table header, table header, table header and table header. So TH, first name, so this goes over here as your first name and closing off your TH tag. And then TH, last name, that means I am talking about the second row, first column. Okay, sorry, first row, second column, last name. And next one I am talking about marks. First row, third column, marks. And finally closing of your TR tag. I am not closing any table tag column because I wanted to include some data into this table. Right. Now next I am talking about second row in this table. So second row I am trying to put or include some details about this particular first name, this particular second name, this particular marks. So TR, what is the first name that I have? Some X name, and TD, what is the second name? Now the tag that we use over here is the data that I am trying to include in the fields of this. So TD, I am trying to include the data. So TD name, closing of TD name, that is the last name, and closing of TD marks, and closing of your TD tag, and finally closing of your TR. This goes with your second row. In the same way, if you want to include multiple names of your data, then you go with another TR tag, opening of TR tag, and TD, because I have used three different headers over here. First name, last name, and then the marks. So data, first name, data, second name, marks, third. And finally closing of your TR tag. In the same way, the entire thing goes on, and finally you need to close the tag called table tag because we are done with the table. Once you are done with closing of your entire information, including entire data, then you have to include closing of the table tag, and in the same way you should close the body tag and the HTML tag also. So this is how the output will be displayed. So as I have told you, this is your border part. As we have mentioned it is around 20 pixels. So if you decrease it, you can see the changes in that. And these are all the details that we have used as TD, and this is the information we have used as TH. Right. In the next topic is about the lists. So in order to use the information in the form of lists, we have a special tag here called as HTML lists. There are two different types of lists in HTML. One is ordered list and second one is unordered list. If at all if you want to go as an ordered list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you go with this ordered list. The tag that we use for ordered list is OL. Right, something? And closing of OL tag. And if it is an unordered list, like something like this, like dots, or circles, or square symbols, then you go for unordered list. Ordered list is also called as numbered list, and unordered list is also called as bullet list. And for the unordered list, the tag that we use is UL, and you need to close it with /UL ID.